Welcome to Orbicle Times Podcast, and hello to everyone, whatever part of the globe you're from or happen to reside in. My name is Kelly Jo, and here we'll provide armchair conversations gathered from interviews and research reviews to explore the seen, the unseen, and the in-between of the supernatural paranormal phenomena, with topics that circle around Spirit Orbs, NDEs, OBEs, UFOs, time slips, mystical moments, higher consciousness, and more. I hope that this cast will be our meeting place and judge-free zone where we can explore, learn, and grow through the telling of. This cast will be launched on a monthly basis or a bi-weekly schedule whenever I'm able to make contact with those in the know for their telling of. Speaking of those in the know and the telling of, have you had mystical moments or other supernatural paranormal experiences? Care to share on this cast? Then consider stepping into the light with your telling of, or send in your monologue for me to read on this podcast. Simply email orbicletimespodcast@gmail.com for a chance to contribute to this cast. This episode circles around the near-death experience. Today's topic will be the elements of an NDE or the near-death experience, and circles around some of the individuals who laid down the groundwork surrounding the NDE phenomenon. Near-death experience, or the acronym, now almost the colloquial term NDE, was coined by, as many know, psychiatrist, philosopher, and author Dr. Raymond Moody in his book Life After Life, which circles around NDEs. But do you know who first introduced Moody to the phenomenon? Before I plunge into that reveal, I should first throw some light upon what an NDE is. According to Wiki, quote, a near-death experience, NDE, is a profound personal experience associated with death or impending death, which researchers describe as having similar characteristics. Dr. Bruce Grayson, professor and psychiatrist, authored a paper in 1999 entitled Defining Near-Death Experiences, in which he penned, quote, researchers have failed to distinguish definitions of near-death experiences, criteria for identifying them, and tests of those criteria, end quote. He reveals that the lack of consensus for a definition of an NDE is due to research methods that group individuals into the NDE phenomenon, despite if those individuals have 1. Been pronounced clinically dead, 2. Are simply judged to be near death, and 3. Have had a near-death-like experience leading to a transformation, all of which might fall under the umbrella of an NDE. According to Psychology Today, there may occur elements of an NDE where death is not imminent, quote, such as while a person is under anesthesia or under the influence of, quote, certain kinds of hallucinogenic drugs. Events that may prompt NDE-like phenomena also include fever, fainting, injury, and other psychological disruptions, end quote. Dr. Grayson contends that a non-consensus definition made it difficult to compare and contrast between research findings, resulting in a negative impact of non-acceptance by academia towards the NDE topic. Dr. Grayson has developed an NDE scale which measures the depth of an individual's NDE. The scale is a 16-item self-reporting questionnaire with a cutoff score of 7/32. A score of 7 or higher is considered an NDE for research purposes. The mean score amongst the large sample of near-death experiences is 15. Examples of some of the questions are as follows. Did time seem to speed up or slow down? Did you feel separated from your body? Did you come to a border or point of no return? I guess not, because they returned. Different scores will equate to one of the 4 components, those being cognitive, affective, paranormal, or transcendental. Interested in seeing the scale? Please visit orbicletimes.com. I'll provide a link to Lee Graves' article entitled Altered States. A near-death experience, or NDE, is typically a result of life-threatening conditions that can occur prior to or during resuscitation and after being clinically dead. And then the experiencer, at some point, recounts their subjective happenings through what can be an emotional telling of the spiritual or mystical moments. Researchers have noted some common elements amongst these experiencers, such as an out-of-body, which accompanies near-death experiences 76% of the time, moving through a tunnel, blackness, seeing known or unknown light sources or light beings, seeing or sensing deceased family members, telepathy, a panoramic life view, feelings of immense love, wanting to stay behind the veil or continue on, and their re-entry of their celestial body or consciousness back into their physical form. Many who have described such ND experiences may not have even been pronounced clinically dead, nor have been given resuscitation, but were able to return to the land of the living, a type of resurrection, if you will. Quote, some researchers use the term NDE whether the experiencer was clinically dead, near death, states Mr. Grayson, author of a PDF entitled Defining Near-Death Experiences. Just a side note, perhaps we need to use another name in addition to shared death experiences for those non-clinical NDEs, such as near-death-like experiences or experience. Acronym being NDLE. Since I'm exploring near-death, I think it may be important, although not my focus here, to provide a definition of death, that being cardiac arrest, where the heart stops, and brain death, where the brain stops working. Definitions may vary on a global scale, so I'm going to example from my country of origin, Canada. If a segment of the medical community holds the power to declare patient death, then there must be a working definition of death. According to CTV Montreal News, the definition of death was revised in June 2023. Updated clinical guidelines read, quote, the permanent cessation of brain function, observable by the absence of consciousness and brain stem reflexes, including the ability to breathe independently, end quote, and applies to all people in all circumstances. Dr. Sam Shami, an associate investigator with the Research Institute of the McGill University Health Center, is quoted stating, the brain is what makes us human. The ability to be conscious, to interact with the environment, to see, feel, look, hear, have memories, have interactions, all those can be completely and permanently gone. Yet you have a body that's still functioning because of the body support machinery that we use. Such bodily supported medical machinery that the doctor refers to has no doubt played and will continue to contribute to the increased ND experience. As promised earlier, the reveal. Dr. Moody is said to have coined the phrase NDE, but it was his predecessor, a Dr. George G. Ritchie, who steered Moody down the tunnel towards NDE research. Dr. George G. Ritchie, M.D., was born in Richmond, Virginia in 1923 and died in 2007. And just a few of his accolades were President of the Richmond Academy of General Practice, Chairman of the Department of Psychiatry, founder and President of the Universal Youth Corps, Inc. He was also head of the Department of Psychiatry at the Northeast Alabama Regional Medical Center. In 1986, he returned to private practice in Richmond until his retirement from that field in 1992. And oh, did I mention he was an experiencer of the near-death kind? It was December 1943, and Private Ritchie was stationed at Camp Berkeley, Texas. He had just been chosen to attend the Medical College of Virginia and was waiting to be sent to Richmond to start classes in 1 week's time. But Ritchie contracted double pneumonia. Ugh, I know what that feels like. And was sporting a temperature above 106 degrees. As a result, he lost consciousness and was declared dead by a medical officer twice. After 9 minutes, he regained consciousness. His mystical happenings can be perused in his 1978 book entitled Return from Tomorrow, which he wrote with the aid of Elizabeth Sherrill and chronicles his N.D.E, where you can read about his OBE as he walked the earth trying to communicate with the living but was ghosted. I also know what that feels like. Flying above cities, seeing bright light, encountering Jesus, traveling through different realms of the afterlife, and finally, his confusing search for his physical body. After returning from the other side, Ritchie said, quote, "Death is nothing more than a doorway, something you walk through," close quote. And that's from Return from Tomorrow. If you're interested in hearing his story, then check out the link at orbicletimes.com. Raymond Moody met Professor Ritchie during Moody's undergraduate degree in Virginia. Ritchie told Moody of his NDE, and from there, as they say, the rest is history. Ritchie's telling is what led Moody to investigate over 150 cases of, quote, people declared clinically dead, end quote, which laid the foundation for his book, Life After Life. In the year 1975, Moody's book, Life After Life, was published. In that year, there was yet another book launched in Germany, which met with much fanfare that dealt with the same subject matter. When that book was finally translated into English, the title read, Dying is Quite Different. Perhaps not the greatest translation, which may have been why its next incarnation read, To Die is Gain. The Experience of One's Own Death by Johann Christoph Hemp. Hemp was born in Poland and wore many hats, such as German Lutheran minister, a journalist, radio broadcaster, and author of 25 books. To Die is Gain was his most popular book, and is said to be a cross between the Tibetan Book of the Dead and NDE reported experiences. And don't you know, Hemp was also an ND experiencer after recovering from clinical death. Here are some excerpts from Hemp's book, To Die is Gain, which I found on WordPress Lay Reader's Book Review, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. I don't think the H is silent, but you never know. So in the following passage, Hemp is referring to a police officer's NDE. Quote, reports given by the dying are close to mystical experiences. A down-to-earth person belonging to our own day, a policeman whom the doctors were able to revive. So now the author is quoting what the policeman had said, and here we go. I was driving home late after my evening spell of duty. Suddenly I found myself among some people who were standing around a car that had been involved in an accident. A girl was busy pulling a body out of the car. None of the others was lifting a finger. I think they were all paralyzed by the shock of what had happened. And I thought, why are you standing stock still among all these onlookers? Then I was finally able to see the face of the person who had been involved in the accident. It was my own. Now the girl was kneeling over my body, and I stood beside her, paralyzed by shock, and looked on helplessly. The girl pressed her mouth to mine and began artificial respiration. Then I suddenly saw nothing more, and the next thing I was conscious and was opening my eyes in a hospital. The author goes on to say, reports of this kind are by no means confined to periods in which spiritualism was widespread. They belong to the fundamentals of human experience and may well be only reported so seldom because they are so strange. Hemp's book has been out of print for over 50 years until a Gregory Shushan of Afterwards Press tracked down Hemp's heirs in Germany and thankfully was given the green light to reprint the book with a new subtitle, Near-Death Experience and the Art of Dying Before We Die. Many ND experiencers are transformed by their experience, which can lead to changes in attitude and behavior. Some return healthier than when they left. Others receive downloads of information, and many obtain psychic abilities. Most, but not all, NDEers return with a positive afterglow and lose their fear of death. However, for some, the aftermath of experiencing such feelings of love and bliss, along with the opt-in or out telepathic clause, while on the other side, may have a negative psychological effect for the experiencer once they return to this dimension. A topic not much discussed, perhaps understandably, is the depression that may be experienced after such a life and death shifting event. For some experiencers, thoughts persist of returning to the other side. Some experiencers have their marriage, their careers, and relationships dissolve along with other PTSD-like symptoms. If you have thoughts of suicide, then please call or text the Suicide Crisis Lifeline at 988. That number will work in Canada and I think also in the USA. How does one return to the land of the living with the same perspective? What is it that compels people to actively listen to the accounts of NDEs? I suppose we've always loved a good yarn. I mean, accounts of adventure, seeing new lands, celestial beings, and returning back to their earthly dens to share their learnt lessons. A type of Odyssey and Iliad rolled into one, if you will. Such tellings share a message of inspiration, hope, love, and hopefully expand consciousness. If you're unsure of where you stand regarding NDEs and want to explore some more, there are many books, websites, of course podcasts, and channels that provide first or second-hand testimonials. I hope that you've enjoyed this journey into elements of the NDE. Take care, everyone. Side note, this is not a commercial. Anchor and Spotify, they're the platforms that I use for my interviews, recordings, editing, and launching, and Spotify will be ceasing many of its services as of June. So I'm not sure what podcast platform I'll be using going forward. I may just stick with my YouTube channel with the handle at Orbicle Times Podcast, at least for over the summer. It's too bad, for I enjoyed having an all-in-one platform, which was originally connected with my webpage, WordPress, and that's at orbicaltimes.com. Again, moving forward, I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing. It's a little disappointing, but there you go. Other people will be affected as well, so again, not a commercial. All right. I would like to keep this cast a commercial-free zone. In light of that, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channels. All my orb videos are available by using the handle at Spirit Orbs Sightings, or visit my new channel with the handle at Orbicle Times Podcast. If you've already subscribed, many thanks. For blogs, episodes, show notes, bios, images, and video, please visit www.orbicaltimes.com. If you enjoyed an episode, then please give a like or a share on whatever podcatcher you happen to use. If you've already done so, much appreciated. Thank you for taking your time to visit these Orbicle Times. Orbicle Times Podcast is written, produced, edited, and hosted by me, Kelly Jo, at Studio Spare Room.